Does it feel like you live at a constant breakneck pace? In this go, do, and achieve society, slowing down may seem impossible, but the wisdom of our bodies know best, and if it's exhausted, you will be forced to slow down. My guest, Rita Smith, learned how to slow down and find the exact balance thanks to a slow shift. I know you'll enjoy her story, so let's get started. Welcome to the Youthful Older Yogi podcast. I'm MJ Waddell, your yogi host and founder of Share Yoga. I've been practicing, teaching, and loving yoga for over 25 years. I'm an advocate of movement, creativity, and staying healthy in mind and body in the prime time of your life. It's never too late to start, and there's a lot of healthy years ahead. So let's start now. Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Youthful Older Yogi. I'm MJ Waddell, the creator and founder of Share Yoga and your host on the Youthful Older Yogi podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in, either watching or listening. I have a wonderful, lovely guest today, Rita Smith. Let me tell you just a little bit about Rita. I met her at a workshop that I was teaching last year, so it's been almost a year. And I was, as I do all of my guests, I stalk them on social media, go to their websites, and then their stories are so interesting. And I wanted to get Rita on the podcast. So Rita is a yoga instructor. She's also a holistic health coach with advanced degrees and background in exercise physiology, education, and nursing. She was a physical education coach. She has her master's degree in education focusing on health promotion and exercise physiology, and a cardiac rehab exercise specialist. And she also surfs. She's a really cool woman. So thank you, Rita, so much for joining me on the Youthful Older Yogi podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome. All right, well, let's just dig right into it. So I usually ask all my guests right away, how did yoga find its way into your life? And do you remember the first class and how you might have found the first class to be, whether good, bad, or neutral?
Yoga had to weave itself into my life several different times. And I know the first occasion I was into triathlons and weightlifting and was very strong. And I think I had an injury, probably overuse, and I had to do something. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do yoga. So I go to the yoga class and it kicked my butt. I did not like it. I'm like, here I am so fit and I can't even do this. I was like, oh. So I put it on the back burner for a little bit. As life happens, change happened and yoga showed up again in my life. I had moved to a new place in the country and I was meeting new people and they're like, yeah, there's this cool hot yoga. It's 90 minutes and you hold these poses. I think you'll really like it. And so I kind of got into that for a good 6 to 9 months. And then life happened again. And I was blessed with adopting my son. Then yoga's on the back burner. And maybe 5 years after that, yoga kind of showed up in a way that was nourishing. I had some health issues and I turned to yoga. And from that point on, it's just been a cornerstone in my life, bringing me healing, community, joy, just learning so much about myself through my journey with yoga.
Yeah, I always say, yoga just finds its way to you when you need it the most. And sometimes it can be, in the distance for a while because life happens, it changes. And the sages say, if you're not ready for change, you're not ready for yoga. So, and how many times do we change throughout our lives? So many times. So, and so first it was power yoga and then more nourishing yoga. And yeah, that's the beauty also of yoga. Don't you think that there's so many different styles and it can fit into whatever season of your life you're at?
Absolutely. Coming into yoga, I thought, doing yoga was too easy, even though it was power and 90 minutes of heat. I still chose to run afterwards. How crazy is that? But life happens and your body changes. You go through health issues and yoga takes you to awareness of yourself, and it helps you bring balance, and it tells you what you need. And sometimes if you don't listen, your body says, I'm going to stop you and, show you what you need.
Our body is so full of wisdom if we'd only listen
Yes.
to it.
And yoga is that tap to listen to your body, at least was my first tap.
Yes, yes, I agree. So, and you shared with me that you were diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease in your mid 30s, and you were very, as you are telling us, very active, healthy young woman. And did that diagnosis come as a complete surprise? I knew you're in the nursing field and everything. And can you just share with the listeners a little bit about how that landed for you emotionally or physically, or anything you want to elaborate on?
Yeah. Retrospect is such a different perspective. And as I look back on that time in my life, it was a very stressful time, as of usually a lot of struggles we go through. But when I was diagnosed, it's the why me? I'm healthy. I eat right. I exercise. I do the things, and it was very frustrating. Um, so it was hard. It was emotionally like almost degrading because I thought I was doing the right things. As I kind of went with that diagnosis and went to the doctors, I felt like, okay, I'm going to beat this. I know I can do it. I'm going to do everything I can to, like, okay, this is not going to affect me. And as life ebbs and flows, it ebbed and flowed with me. But yeah, it was hard on my heart. I did realize I did have some family history. So I learned that my older sister had some thyroid issues. I know other sides of my family had it. And so I'm like, okay, well, I was dealt this card. It is what it is. So that's
Yeah.
how it happened for me.
I know so many people that have been in my sphere that are so healthy and do all the right things, and it's not their fault that they get it out. It's just not. But it almost feels, talking with them, like they feel responsible for it, and which I'm sure it's kind of a universal feeling. But thankfully, you are thriving and living, and there's so many people living with these disorders, autoimmune disorders, and they manage their medication, their symptoms with medications, and follow their doctor's orders and treatments. So being a nurse and an educator, what were your first practical steps?
Well, first was a little bit of denial. I'm going to keep living my strong, healthy life. I got this. I was a little younger. I wasn't into yoga at that time. But I think the most practical thing it brought to me was awareness. And with awareness, you have to slow down. And I'm not a slow down person. I never was a slow down person. I was like, okay, we got to do this and this and that, and fill your life with a lot of things. But with that diagnosis, I had to be aware of what my body was doing. And I had to be aware of maybe signs and symptoms of thyroid, low thyroid and high thyroid, so I could figure out how to manage that.
Yeah, and listen, I used to be a type A. I don't like that term, but now I'm like a B plus. I call myself. I was also that go, 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 do, do, do. Not that it's a bad thing. It's just, sometimes the wisdom of your body just says slow down.
I wanted to pop in and thank you for listening to The Youthful Older Yogi. I love bringing you great guests, education, and ways to stay youthful in mind and body. If you love the show and want to help me make it even better, please consider becoming a supporter. You get to choose how much and how often you give, and there's no commitment. And remember, I donate a portion of every dollar I receive to charity. For 2025, I've chosen United Nations World Food Program. Just click the support button in the show notes. And just as helpful is sharing the show with others. Thank you again so much for listening. And now let's get back to the podcast.
Talking about slowing down, And that doesn't mean becoming a couch potato. How did the slowing down, quote unquote, happen to you? Or was it gradual? Is it still developing? And how challenging was it for you as a go, go, go type of personality?
Oh yeah, the slowing down had to come in waves. Like the yoga was weaved in, the slowing down was kind of weaved in also. Um, the first time I had to slow down, literally my body said, you can't do what you've been doing. I was fatigued, I was in pain, I had headaches, I had digestive issues. And so the stuff that I was doing I physically couldn't do, and so I did turn into restorative yoga, and I just did it in my bedroom, quiet, a little bit at a time, and prayed a lot. I heard meditation was good for healing, so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I don't know what it is, but we'll try it out. And so that was kind of the first step of it, the slowing down coming into my life. As I healed, I was like, okay, I'm going to go back to this and this and this. And I tried. And guess what? My body didn't like it. And so, I was a big CrossFit girl, and I was like, yeah, I could do yoga and CrossFit. I'll find that balance. But the CrossFit was too much. And that was my community at that time. So to slow down and let that go was just hard. So I was able to find that balance with a yoga studio and my yoga tribe, and gradually built myself up from this restorative to the more power yoga. I still struggle with the slowing down. Even this past year, I've only been a yoga instructor for a couple years. And when I started, I'm like, I'm going to do this cool vinyasa flow. It's going to be power. I'm an older yogi. I'm going to show it. And yin yoga kept kind of been thrown in my face. Rita, you want to do yin yoga? Rita, you want to do? And I'm like, Finally, I said yes. And I started that a year ago. And that was another process of me slowing down. And wow, I love doing it. I used to not love doing it. I did a few times, but I also love guiding other people in that.
Yeah. Again, it's another, not that yoga cures everything, but the modalities of yoga have such healing aspects if you find the right specific type of yoga at the specific season and time of your life, whatever you're doing. They asked me to teach restorative class at a studio I used to work at. And I had never done a restorative class. So I always say yes to everything. Sure. I'm like, oh my God, it's like napping, right? So I had to do it, but I'm telling you, I love it. And I still teach vinyasa flow to a 55 and older community. And 55 is not old anymore. It's not old. It's these women, it's a vinyasa. It's very slow, steady with intentional pace. We don't go fast because, as we go into the prime time of our lives. That's what I'm calling it, the prime time. I love that term.
Yes.
You turned me onto that term, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure. I think so. Yeah.
So you are one of my friends who's another health coach. I'm like, what do you mean prime time? She's like, that's what we call in the later years, prime time years. I was like, I like that. I'm using it. So
yeah.
But yes, so, and for those of you that are not familiar with yin pose, yin yoga is when you hold poses. And for me, it led me into more meditation because you have to stay, and your mind and body sometimes both don't want to stay, they want to flee. So it's a really, really important practice. And most people that do it and return to it, I think that's what they like about it, is getting to learn, like you said before, getting to learn about yourself. So also as a nurse educator, I'm so glad you're in the medical field. Before we started this episode, the taping, Rita and I were talking, and I just spent 6 days in a cardiac wing with one of my family members who was suffering from a cardiac scare. And I love medicine. I also I would have been a doctor, but my math and science sucked. So went another way. But anyway, you specialize in heart attack and strokes and trauma, and you've seen and experienced so much fear with the patients, with their families. And what would you tell people about the importance of making healthy decisions for well-being and how it pays off before something traumatic might happen?
You said that perfectly. It's before, it's prevention. And so many times our generation, the generations before us, these doctors tell us what to do. We get sick, we go to the doctor, they give us a pill, they give us a procedure. They may tell us to eat right and exercise, but what does that really look like for me? When I was in college, I was all into the exercise phys and the health promotion, and I think it's been part of my life forever. I think I had to figure out my own balance, and it changed as I grew. But to talk to other family that you see them go through these things, you want to say there are some simple solutions, and it's just having the mindset of exploring and being curious and changing. And it may look different for everybody. We're all individual, unique people. And, someone may want to work on meditation changes versus physical activity changes first. And it doesn't matter where you start. It just matters that you're consistent and you keep those habits. And with small, sustainable, good habits, your life can change immensely.
Well, you're living proof of that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Living proof of that. And also, I want to give a shout out also because the hospital I was at for my family member, Rita, is a nurse educator there. And I was there for pretty much the whole day for 6 days. And she trains these cardiac nurses and on the floor. Is that correct? The nurses and everybody you train?
Yeah, in the procedure area.
The procedure. And they were amazing.
Yeah.
So job well done. Thank you. Like so wonderful. Now, yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for sharing. Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
And these people that do these jobs have the biggest hearts, and they're caregivers, and they're part of the reason I want to help people heal themselves, because as you know, caregivers tend to care for themselves last.
Yes.
And I see that when I work with these people, and they have such big hearts, but I'm like, okay, take care of yourself too.
Yes. Oh, and one other thing. When we talked before, you said you are trying to implement some new programs. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I have asked to implement a mindful moment in our morning huddles. So the mornings that I'm there, we do our huddle and talk about the day and their assignments and whatnot. And then at the end, I share a mindful moment. And usually it's a breathing exercise, mindfulness, body scan, relaxation, or sometimes it's a little bit of stretching, just sitting in a chair. And it takes about 5 minutes. And it's interesting because there's a wide variety of healthcare people, and some people really love it and think it's amazing. And some people are like, okay, that's not for me. But I love the fact that I get to introduce it to everybody, because it takes 7 times for any change or introduction to really kind of take hold. And so I'm blessed to have that opportunity to do that.
Oh, I love that. You call it the huddle?
Yeah, we do morning huddles, and I call it the mindful moments.
Mindful moments. It's great. And you know what? It's so hard for caregivers to, like you said, take care of themselves. So it's really just 5 minutes of self-care, and just as like restorative, it's self-care, and it's not selfish. And I've had people say, well, I'm not going to spend an hour just lying around doing nothing when I have this and this and this. This is the part of the preventative, I think, that you're speaking about. This type of just maybe 5 minutes a day. Start with 5 minutes and just breathe and or stretch or take a moment or something, mindful moment for yourself. It's it can start new neural pathways for you. And that, because habits are really patterns, you just establish new patterns. And I always say, yeah, I could try something once, not like it. Like I did Bikram 3 times. At the third time, because I gave it three chances, it didn't land with me because it was very regimented, and I was a dancer and I was very regimented with ballet, and I'm like, I need a little bit more freedom. So I found out, but I say try something at least 3 times. So, but good luck with that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, as you lean into the prime years of your life, is there anything surprising or wonderful that's happening, either physically, mentally, or something that's like, oh, I wasn't expecting that to happen?
Yeah, I have a lot more joy in my life at this time. I feel like the experiences that I've had have opened the door for gratitude, for mindfulness, for appreciating the little things of life, the full moon the other night. Um, just I have a view of the ocean right now, the beautiful calm ocean right now. So I love that in my prime of my life, the slowing down part. The finding the balance. And yeah, I overdo it sometimes. I go, go, go. And I'm like, okay, I feel it in my body. I need to slow down. I probably shouldn't do Inferno Pilates. Maybe let me catch somebody else's yen class. But just that wisdom and the other surprise is just the ability to learn. My thirst for learning is still growing. I'm taking a couple health classes, one on gut health and hormone health, but I'm also out in the ocean learning how to e-foil, and that's been ongoing for the last year or so. And that just brings me so much joy to be out there in the water doing something physical and learning.
Yeah, for listeners, we both live in Cocoa Beach. I think you're in Cocoa Beach.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm also across the street from the ocean. I just have to walk across the street. Blessings, gratitude. Don't be jealous, everybody. It took a long time for me to get here. But also the e-foil. Explain to our listeners, because you explained it to me, and it's like so cool. Can you explain what e-foil is?
Yeah, so I started surfing in probably my mid 40s. My son was about 6 or 7, and we learned how to surf together. So I moved here 18 years ago. About 10 years ago, I started surfing. I went from surfing to paddleboard surfing, and then this new thing came up, this hydrofoil, and it has a mask and wings at the bottom, and it lifts you up out of the water. And we were lucky enough to have an electric one where it's got power, so you can ride on your belly and get yourself standing up, and then you catch a wave and it lifts you up over the water, and it's like you're riding a magic carpet over the water. It is just so amazing.
Oh, that is so cool. So that's
Yeah.
something I might try, because I know I did try surfing when I turned 50, and I got up for a minute, and then I fell for the next hour. But and and I do like, I've done stand up paddleboard. I really enjoy that. And but that sounds like something, if I could just lay on my belly for a while and then get up.
And some you learn in steps, and sometimes that's okay. I control the power. I can ride on my belly. Step
Yes.
one, and people love that too.
Yeah, yeah, that's so cool. Um, so do you currently have any favorite yin or yoga pose, or I'm educating my listeners with mudras. Do you have any of those favorite things?
Yeah, I mean, yin has, it wasn't my favorite thing, but now it's just like, I have a hard time if I miss teaching my class. Um, but I have, if you're okay with it, I have two poses.
Oh, sure.
One is butterfly or diamond pose, folding forward, looking inward. And when I instruct my yoga class, I say this is all about looking inward and closing your eyes and noticing the sensations in your body and noticing your breath. And so folding in feels good, but then to balance that out, I like to usually finish my class as a with an open heart pose, and it could be a fish pose or it could be a supported fish pose on a bolster with your arms open, your chin open, your legs can be straighter in butterfly, however they choose. But to have that balance of closed in and open to receiving, palms up. You've done the inner work. Now I'm open to receive the healing that comes with it.
Yeah, I love it. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, there's different pose names in yoga that are in yin. So the diamond pose or butterfly, that's like Baddha Konasana. They also could call it butterfly. Anyway, it's when your feet are together and your knees are open. And so, anyway, fish pose. So you guys don't need to know that unless you're like, hardcore yogis. So, but thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now, I do have a question that I ask everyone that I didn't bring to you before. Okay, so it's not a trick question or anything. Usually the question is, it's always usually posed as, knowing everything you know now and all your life experience, what would you tell your younger self? But I like to switch it. I'm like, knowing all that you know now with all the experience of life, what would you like to tell your future self?
Everything's going to be all right. Everything's going to be all right. I think I would tell my younger self
that too, right? Yes.
Yes, because we get so anxious and we get so worried, and if this isn't right or if that isn't right, or I'm coming down with a cold, and it's like, okay, life is like an ocean. The waves come in and they go out, and you have to be with the flow, and having the mindset of everything's going to be okay calms your whole body down too.
Yes, and I think as we just gain more wisdom and more years, it just happens. You don't have to force it to happen. It's just like you're like, everything's worked out so far. Yes, there might have been some really hard times and challenges, but nobody gets through this life without them. And you figure it out. So yeah, I like it. Everything will be okay. So well, Rita, I want to thank you so much for spending your time and your insights and your wisdom with us. I will have everything in the show notes. Can you tell everybody what the best place, your website is for them to find you and connect with you?
Yeah. Yeah, my website is ritasreef.com, and I did a lot of healing surfing, so hence the name. And so that's my health coaching business website. Can also reach me at ritasreef@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, I am under Rita's Reef. Facebook, it's just my name, Rita Smith. So
awesome. Yeah. And again, I will have the links to everything in the show notes. So thank you so much. I hope to cross the street one day and just see you on your e-foil and go, Rita. So that would be awesome. And again, thank you so much for being on the Youthful Older Yogi.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Well, if you're still on with me after Rita just left, I promised a mudra for each episode. So today I'm going to be focused on the mudra. It's called Dhyana Mudra or Dhyana Mudra. So the mudras, again, are seals, mostly done with the hands. Hands in Sanskrit is hasta. So it's hasta mudra. And we use everyday gestures or mudras. Some of them we don't even know how they came about. We can cross our fingers for people. We can handshake with people. I think that was started because they want to make sure you didn't have a weapon in your hand. Holding hands with someone is a connection. Giving someone the finger is also how we might, relay our discontent with someone. And also this new heart-shaped mudra that they've been doing for a few years now. So we do mudras all the time with our hands. But Dhyana Mudra in Sanskrit, Dhy means the ability to think. And Yana means moving or going or like a vehicle. So whatever drives your thinking is dhyana. And dhyana is also the 7th of the 8 limbs of yoga. So you might see this mudra on sculptures and statues of Buddha and sages. It's practiced by the monks, the Hindu and the Buddhist monks. And according to Patanjali, the Dhyana mudra, it's a state of mind, and you concentrate on one single object for an extended time where thoughts flow without interruption. Not an easy thing to do, but when you're starting out with meditation or any type of focus, we usually start with the breath. But the setup for this mudra, the Dhyana Mudra, I'm going to back up a little bit, is while you're seated, okay, in your meditation, whether you're seated on the floor or in a chair, let me get my camera the right way so you can see. So you would typically place your left hand on your lap with your palm facing up, just relaxed. And then you gently place your right hand on top. And it's to resemble a bowl or a vessel. So you're going to receive, okay? The tips of your thumbs meet, they just gently touch here. And it's as if you're making a triangle. I'm just moving it up so you can see it a little bit. It's like you're making a little triangle with your hands and your thumb. So it's just thumbs gently touching, left hand down, right hand on top. And that is the Dhyana Mudra. And so the thumbs, also you want to keep the thumbs directed skyward up. And our thumb stands for intuition, or it's symbolic of the cosmic or the divine, however you want to say that. Some people say God, the universe, the powers that be, however you want to say that. And the benefits of practicing this mudra is, of course, it promotes concentration, makes you feel more focused. It reduces negative emotions. It helps with sleep quality. It relieves stress and anxiety, helps to ease headaches, calms the mind, improves the body's healing response. Now, not maybe all at once. These mudras have to be practiced just like anything else. And they say 20 to 30 minutes that's when the effects will start, but not right away. You might not feel anything. You might just go, what am I doing with my hands? It's a very slow, gradual process of learning the mudras and then feeling the benefits. I've been doing this mudra for a long, long time. Every time I sit down, even in my regular life, I put my hands like that now. So, and it does settle me. I feel grounded and relaxed and more focused. So give this a try the next time you meditate. You can just start with the awareness of your breath, or you can visualize an object, perhaps something circular or triangular, as the same way you're placing your hands. And if you're curious about meditation, please check out my Meditation Made Easy course. We'll be running it a couple times this year. The only way you'll know about that is to subscribe to my newsletter at shareyogawithmj.com, and it'll keep you in the know. You have to subscribe to my newsletter. I keep it all in one place. Don't worry, I'm not going to try to sell you anything, but you might be interested in some of the course offerings that I have. So thank you again so much for tuning in to the Youthful Older Yogi. I so appreciate your time. Please send me a comment, a review, anything. Just get in touch with me or share it with your friends. Send them to shareyogawithmj.com. I would really appreciate it. It would help me greatly. So thank you again. And until we meet again, keep sharing yoga. Namaste.
Thank you so much for listening. Now you can go to my show notes on YouTube or Buzzsprout and send me a voicemail or email. I'd love to hear what topics you'd like me to speak about, what your thoughts are on the episodes, and maybe I'll share your message on a future episode. please subscribe to my website, shareyogawithmj.com, so you can receive my newsletters and be first to know about my retreats, workshops, courses, and freebies. If you navigate on social media, you can find me mostly on Facebook and a bit on Instagram at Mary Jane Waddell. That's Jane with a Y, Jayne. This podcast would not be possible without the help of my editor, Dan Jones from Cocoa Beach Productions. You can find Dan at cocoabeachweb.com. And of course, thanks to my generous guests who share their time, insights, and youthful wisdom. Remember, the Youthful Older Yogi podcast is presented solely for educational, inspirational, and entertainment purposes. It is not intended as a substitute for a physician or other qualified professionals. Okay, yogis, stay well, stay youthful, and keep sharing yoga.